Of course, you know who we are. We are the People's Station, without question. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this time out real quick to speak to a personal friend of mine. I mean, I just met him a couple of days ago, but we just had a special vibe right now. It's Mr. Kevin Powell from New York City. Hey, man, what's going on? How are you, sir? Now, you are a human rights activist, poet, journalist, author of 14 books, including the new book that's coming out, When We Free the World. Thank you so much for taking this time out, because I know you have a busy day today, especially celebrating Happy Juneteenth Day. I should have said that first and foremost. How are you, sir?
Happy Juneteenth to you, and it's an honor to be back on your show. And we like best friends now. We homies.
That's right. I love it. Okay, for those who do not know you, let me get into this, because I thought about it all night last night for a couple of days. Tell us how you got started as being a journalist and activist. How did you start? Or where are you from?
Well, I'm from the East Coast. I'm originally from Jersey City, right next door to New York City. So the influence of North Jersey, New York and North Jersey, just like you're from Philly and y'all influence South Jersey, the culture there, you know. Yeah. And it was when I was a youth. I mean, and shout out, Happy Juneteenth to the people of Minnesota, the Twin Cities. Because literally when I was a youth back in the 1980s, we were doing the exact same thing in the 80s and 90s around racial profiling, police brutality, any kind of injustices, fighting against voter suppression, you know, all those different things. So it started for me, and as you know, a lot of it was tied to the music. When I first started hearing Bob Marley, when I first started hearing when hip-hop, you know, was being represented by KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions.
I was about to say Chris.
Public Enemy, Queen Latifah, you know, when we had NWA, you know, coming out on the West Coast, and Ice Cube doing his solo albums, Tupac, who I'm working on, my 15th book will be about. You know, there was so much that was happening, and I want to shout out Lil Baby especially, because I just heard his song early this week and saw the video, and it brought me back to, you know, when we were youth, and people need to check out the song and the video, because it's capturing. And I've been saying to myself, you know, we had Marvin Gaye and Curtis Mayfield back in the day, Aretha Franklin, Nina Simone dropping it. Yeah. You know, it's time now for hip-hop and R&B, and I know that Alicia Keys is about to drop a song like any minute that's about, if she hasn't already, about what's happening right now as well. So shout out to all the music artists out there in Minnesota too.
Man, I'm talking with Mr. Kevin Powell, ladies and gentlemen, a truly human rights activist. You've been writing for a long time, sir, and Vibe Magazine, MTV. For those who do not know Kevin Powell, you are huge. I mean, I'm telling you, man. I appreciate you being on the show.
I'm just an activist, brother. I just care. You know what I'm saying? That's
yes,
it.
sir.
That's it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so now the book is called When We Free the World.
Yes, sir. And I want to, you know, so folks will know, if they go to the New York Times and Vibe Magazine today, like right now, you know, you can find 2 free excerpts of the book, When We Free the World. The book's coming out with Apple Books exclusively on Sunday. So if you got an iPhone, iPad, or a Mac computer of any kind, you can download the book. But you can read 2 parts of it today. Vibe Magazine, I wrote a poem in celebration of Juneteenth called We Them People. You know how they say we the people? I said, I'm going to get black and call it We Them People. You know what I'm saying? But it's really a poem about all of us in America. That's at Vibe.com right now. And then if you go to the New York Times, they have something called Letter from a Father to a Child, which is really me imagining what it would be like being a father, raising a child in the middle of the pandemic, the protests, all the stuff happening in our country right now, and how hard it is. I mean, and you know, you're a father, and happy Father's Day to you and all the fathers out there. Sir. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, thank you. You know, you are a father. You did tell me that, didn't you, the other day?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, my daughter, she graduated the class of 2020.
That's right. We talked about this. That's right. And I shouted her out. That's right.
Man, it is incredibly talking to you. I love you, man, and I really appreciate you. So now we can go get the book online at Apple.
Right, Apple Books, When We Free the World, and people have been asking, well, Kev, what's it about? Look at the cover. You got black, white, brown, yellow, red people of all different identities on the cover. They're young people ranging from age of 8 to 9 years old to your daughter's age. They're in their 20s, you know, her generation, millennials. Because I'm like, you know, with all this happening, you know, how do we bring people together? How do we have some of the difficult conversations we've been avoiding for a long time? I mean, I can't tell you how honored I am. This is actually the only interview I'm doing today on Juneteenth in Minnesota with you, Mr. Glenn Golden, because Minnesota is so important to me for what y'all have kicked off and how people have responded to the tragedy of George Floyd. And as I said the other day, I had my own crazy experience in the Twin Cities 2 years ago, where my wife and I, we felt were the victims of some misuse and abuse of the court system around a faulty, defamation case, and we ended up losing it and being trashed in the local media there, the Star Tribune, city pages, the whole 9 yards, without anyone even investigating what was really going on. And I talk about that in this new book, and it's with love. I'm like, we have to tell the truth. And as you see people coming forth now and saying, hey, look at all these racist things that have happened, we have to talk about how people are treated in the court system, in the media, in corporate America, in sports across the board. We have to have real, honest conversations. It's not enough for people to put out statements and say they support Juneteenth, that they support diversity and inclusion, if you're not really serious about treating people as human beings across the board.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out to talk with us, because I know you have a very busy day. What's your schedule like today? I know you're in New York right now. I know
yes, sir.
A lot of things are going on. What is happening in your city? We have a Cubs giveaway that is going to be happening. It's a Cub food store down here that was burned down, or not burned, but vandalized. But now they are reopening, and we have a big drive that's going to be happening today. So, man, it's going to be incredible turnout, starting around 12 o'clock. But I thank you for taking the time out. What's your schedule like, man? What you going to do today? How are you feeling?
Well, I feel good. Here in Brooklyn and up in Harlem and New York City, we have a whole bunch of Juneteenth things happening. People are gathering. I want to shout out to folks that, you're a music cat, so we actually there's a group of folks that have been organizing around the country who promote concerts and all kinds of gatherings with musical artists. And so they're putting together something called Freedom Summer. So there's a bunch of dope stuff happening in spite of the pandemic and everything else. Outdoors, we're going to encourage people to keep wearing their masks, and saying to folks in Minnesota as well, all around the country, wear your mask, please social distance, because we also know, Brother Glenn, that the coronavirus cases have spiked up as people have kind of gotten lax. But nothing can stop the fact that people want justice, and they want equality and freedom for all people. And that's what, Juneteenth is about. And if I can real quick, because I think this is important, June 19th, 1865, that was the day that, in spite of the Emancipation Proclamation 2 years before by Abraham Lincoln, 1863, Texas was very slow to let black folks know y'all free. And so on this date, June 19th, 1865, is when black folks in Texas began to realize, wait a minute, we're emancipated, we're freed. And so Juneteenth became a symbol not just for folks in Texas, but all around the country as a celebration of being out of physical slavery. Now, obviously, with George Floyd in Minnesota and what happened to Brother Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta, what happened to Breonna Taylor in Kentucky, we still got some work to do, some very serious work to do. But I've never heard folks talk about Juneteenth so much in my life. I'm keeping it real with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about Mr. Kevin Powell. I'm talking about an activist. I mean, when you say activist, I look at that as saying you're activating people to knowledge.
That is absolutely right. I mean, one of my sayings, sir, is that we need to hashtag read, study, travel. Hashtag read, study, travel. And this is for younger people. This is for older people, all of us. Because, think about, just because of what's happened with the pandemic and the protests, people are looking up the civil rights movement. They're looking up all these historical figures. They're looking up Juneteenth. And so activism really means it means what we say now, try to be as woke as possible.
Yes.
And, and even if you're not the kind of person that likes to read, and I don't even want to take for granted that everyone can read, on a certain level. Like my mama probably is the smartest person, one of the smartest you've ever met. She has a grade school education. My grandmother, her mother could not read or write. No judgment, no shame in that. But my mother watches and pays attention. So even if you got to watch some movies, some documentaries, listening to different kinds of music, just be open to expanding your mind so you're really connected to what's going on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because, when we were texting the other night, I was like, okay, all right, now look here, Kev, I'm watching Jeopardy. I'm trying to get as smart as you are. I'm trying to...
And you are. Look, I'm not one of those people, man, brother. Let me tell you, man, just because I write books doesn't mean that I think everyone should learn just one way. We learn in different ways. You heard what I said at the beginning, music. I've been playing Marvin Gaye's What's Going On like crazy. I'm going back and listening to Nina Simone. You feel like Bob Marley, Fela Kuti, whatever I got listened to, just to kind of, to motivate me, to push me. And I think that I mean, you know better than I do. You've been in this world. Like, music is the one thing that actually can bring people together. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You know, but it's also like, you know, what are we creating? We gotta, you know, I'm not saying every song got to be a protest song. Every song's got to be about the movement that's happening right now. But I do think, like our brother Nas said, you know, years ago, one of our greatest rappers ever, that just every album, just put one song on there that's saying something about what's going on in the community. Just one. Try it. See what happens. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Kevin Powell, the book is called When We Free the World. It's available on Apple right now, and it's going to be coming to a bookstore available to you as soon as they open back up and things like that. Kevin, I really appreciate you, man, for taking the time out to talk to me on this Juneteenth. Happy Father's Day and happy Juneteenth. Hey, man,
Thank you.
Please keep us informed, and you can always call me any day,
man,
every day.
I appreciate you just opening up the airways. And again, you know, please, folks, check out the book When We Free the World. It's available right now this summer exclusively with Apple, you know, books. But by the fall, it will be in bookstores around the country. I'm also doing an audio book this summer. We'll make that available to be in my voice. But really, I wrote the book. You know, look at the cover of the book. Look at the diverse images of the people on the book. I wrote the book so that we can have some conversations as people in this country about what's happening. You know what I mean? And if people want to see a free excerpt of the book, the NewYorkTimes.com has a letter from a father to a child that I wrote online today. And Vibe Magazine has a poem that I wrote called We Them People, which is about movement and energy and activism and wokeness and all the stuff that's happening right now. And I just want to say thank you because, as you know, you didn't have to do this, and I just appreciate you from the bottom of my heart for even having me on the show.
Oh, man,
I thank you. Shout out to Minnesota. And no, Minnesota, you know, y'all are making it happen all over the world. It started in Minnesota.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kevin Powell, you better go to the website and check this thing out. You know what? You mentioned Marvin Gaye, so I'm going to play what's going on after this commercial break.
Man, I appreciate you, man. And for me, if you don't mind, shout out, my next book is about Tupac Shakur coming in 2021. If you could keep your head in there at any point today, I'll be really happy.
Say no more, because we say what you play. We are the People's Station. Sir. Man, thank you so much, Mr. Kevin Powell, man. I appreciate you, man, and I'll talk to you soon, man. And God bless.
All right. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed day. Thank you.
God bless. Peace. Stay where you are on the other side, Marvin Gaye. And we're going to do some Tupac from our man,